welcome to the deep dive. So you send over some really interesting stuff this time, all kind of circling around this big question, maybe a bit of a scary one for some folks.
hmm
What's AI going to do to coding?
Exactly. It's clearly something on people's minds, and, well, you can see why. Are AIs just going to write all the code soon, or is it more about changing how coders actually work?
Right. And then we've got this Windows Central article. It mentions Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, Bill Gates. Quite the lineup. Plus those tweets and other links.
Yeah, a good mix of perspectives. So our mission today really is to dig into these, pull out the key insights, and try to make sense of the different views on this really fast-moving topic without getting totally lost in the noise.
Okay, let's dive in.
Yeah.
I think the place to start is maybe the anxiety part, the automation fear. It pops up everywhere.
It really does.
That Windows Central piece even had that stat, 54% of banking jobs potentially being fully automated. That kind of sets the stage.
It does. And, it's only natural people start thinking, okay, what about software development? For ages, coding seems like such a safe bet, right? A growing field. But now with generative AI, AI that can actually write code based on prompts, there's this genuine worry. Could coding be, as that article put it, on the chopping block?
And we can't really ignore Jensen Huang on this, the NVIDIA CEO. He sounds
Yeah.
pretty definite about it.
Yeah, his take is strong. He basically suggested coding might be dead in the water.
Wow. Dead in the water.
And he even said maybe look at other things like biology, farming, education,
Yeah.
manufacturing. That's a pretty bold statement.
It really is. Especially coming from him, with NVIDIA being so central to AI hardware.
Absolutely. His perspective carries weight. He seems to be looking at how fast AI is learning to generate code and thinking, well, maybe we just won't need people doing it the old way for much longer. Maybe he sees the complexity issue as just needing more scale from the AI.
Okay, so that's one end of the spectrum. Pretty dramatic. But then we get a different vibe from Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO.
Right. A real contrast, or maybe a pivot. I think lots of people assumed OpenAI's goal was always just, 100% automation, replace the coder entirely.
That was the impression, yeah.
But what he's saying now, and that tweet they embedded highlights it, it sounds different, less focused on that truly 100% automation right now.
Meaning?
Meaning, like, building complex stuff with zero human code interaction. He seems much more focused, immediately anyway, on making current coders way more productive, like 10x more productive.
10 times. That's huge. That's a massive jump.
It is. And he puts a pretty tight timeline on it, too. Says it could happen this year, next year, or something like that.
Whoa. Okay, so that's practically tomorrow. How would that even work? What does 10x productivity look like for a developer day to day?
That's the key question, isn't it? Altman himself sort of clarifies. He sees that full automation, the 100% thing, as further down the road.
Right, not immediate.
Exactly. The immediate thing is AI augmenting what developers already do, making them faster, more efficient. Think AI as a superpowered assistant, maybe handling the grunt work, not taking over the whole project.
Okay, so less replacement, more super tool. That feels like a really important distinction.
It seems to be, yeah.
And that lines up with other things in the article, like the Microsoft Work Trend Index findings. It said most recruiters are going to expect AI skills now.
That's a huge signal right there. It's not just can you code anymore. It's can you code with AI.
And that stat jumps out too, the 142x increase in people adding skills like Copilot and ChatGPT to their LinkedIn profiles.
Wow, 142 times. That just shows how fast people are reacting, right? Trying to get ahead of the curve, learn these tools. It's you can see people are actively trying to figure out how to stay relevant. It makes it personal.
Yeah, definitely. But then here's the twist, maybe. The article also says most executives are still worried they can't find enough talent.
Yeah.
Even with all this AI stuff, potentially boosting productivity. How does that work? If AI makes people more productive, wouldn't you need fewer people, or at least find it easier to fill roles? It feels a bit contradictory.
It does seem paradoxical, doesn't it? But while maybe it's not just about the number of coders, but the type of skills needed.
Oh, okay.
So even if AI automates some tasks or makes one person do the work of, say, two, maybe the complexity of the overall systems is growing even faster. Or perhaps the skills needed are shifting.
Shifting how?
Maybe you need fewer people writing basic code, but more people who can architect complex systems, who can figure out how to use the AI effectively, who can oversee it, debug the weird stuff AI generates. Those kinds of higher level skills. Maybe those are the skills executives are struggling to find.
That makes sense. It's not just typing code, it's the thinking behind it, the big picture stuff. And AI becomes a tool to help with the implementation details.
Precisely. And speaking of big picture thinkers, the article brings in Bill Gates.
Right, Microsoft co-founder.
Yeah.
His view is a bit more optimistic, for coders anyway.
Yeah, building on that idea of AI as a tool, Gates actually listed coders alongside, I think it was biologists and energy experts.
As jobs likely to survive the AI revolution.
Exactly. And his reasoning is interesting. He thinks these fields are just too complex to be fully automated by AI right now.
So complexity is the shield, according to Gates.
It seems so. And what's fascinating there is how his idea of complexity might differ from, say, Huang's. Gates seems focused on the problem solving, the design, the nuanced thinking involved in building software, not just generating lines of code, areas where maybe current AI isn't quite there yet.
Okay, so we've got Huang saying maybe coding's done for. We've got Altman saying, no, it's about massive productivity boosts soon. And Gates saying, hold on, it's too complex to fully automate yet. They can't all be right. Or can they?
Well, maybe they're looking at different facets of the same thing. On the surface, yeah, it sounds contradictory, but if you dig a bit,
What's the common ground?
I think the real takeaway isn't a simple yes or no on replacement. It's that how coding gets done is fundamentally changing. The article kind of hints at this too.
Right. It mentioned AI becoming a critical tool.
Yeah.
Designed to automate redundant and repetitive tasks.
Exactly that. So it's less about the AI being the coder and more about it being this incredibly powerful assistant.
Like the ultimate pair programmer.
Kind of, yeah. And that connects directly back to Altman's 10x productivity idea, right? If AI handles the boilerplate, helps find bugs faster, drafts initial solutions, then the human coder can focus on the really hard parts, the creative architecture, the complex logic.
And those other linked articles fit in here too. The piece mentioned the Anthropic CEO thinking AI could write like 90% of code soon.
Yeah, and the idea that engineers might mostly review AI code in the future.
That sounds like a huge shift.
It is. But even in that scenario, think about it. You still need highly skilled humans to do the reviewing, to understand the architecture, to catch the subtle errors, to guide the AI. It's maybe not the end of the software engineer, but an evolution of the role. More oversight, more strategy, maybe. More collaboration with the AI.
Okay, so pulling it all together for you
Yeah.
listening, the main message isn't really panic, AI is taking over, or relax, nothing's changing.
Yeah.
It's subtler.
Much subtler. It's about a really significant evolution. The profession is changing, driven by these incredibly powerful tools.
So the focus should be less on black and white job security
Yeah.
and more on what?
Adaptation.
Absolutely. Understanding that huge productivity gains are likely, meaning you need to learn how to leverage these tools. Recognizing that the skills required are shifting maybe more towards system design, critical evaluation of AI output, and effective collaboration with AI. It's about moving up the stack, focusing on those uniquely human cognitive strengths. So, for someone listening right now, maybe they're a developer, maybe they're thinking about becoming one. What's a practical takeaway? Given Huang's warning, Altman's productivity push, Gates's complexity argument, what should they actually do?
That really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And maybe the most important thing to reflect on, given everything we've discussed.
Yeah.
It seems like you can't just bet on one thing. You probably still need those solid, fundamental coding principles, understanding how software really works, the logic, the architecture. That seems crucial.
But that's not enough on its own anymore.
Probably not. You also need to actively get good at using these AI tools, learn how to prompt them effectively, learn their strengths and weaknesses, figure out how to integrate them into your workflow without just blindly trusting their output.
That's a balancing act.
Exactly. Like learning to work with a super smart, super fast, but sometimes weird new kind of colleague. You need the core skills and the ability to leverage the new tools.
Don't just learn to code with AI.
That sums it up pretty well, I think. It's about finding that balance between mastering the fundamentals and becoming proficient with the AI assistants that are clearly becoming part of the landscape.
It's definitely a lot to think about. Less about fearing replacement, more about figuring out how to adapt and collaborate.
Precisely. The landscape is changing fast, no doubt about it. Continuous learning, staying adaptable. That seems to be the name of the game right now for anyone in or looking at software development. How do you plan to balance those core skills with these new AI capabilities? That's probably the key question to ponder.